to Matsubayashi, and Mrs. Matsubayashi is here as well. If you'd like to stand and be recognized, welcome. Sensei, then I will pass this on to you.
Thank you.
The lecture will be about an hour, Sensei? About an hour? Hour and 15 minutes? I don't think. Okay. We'll go a little more than an hour or so, and then we'll have a Q&T, question and answer. And then some of you may want to ask him informally as well.
Thank you very much. Should I call you Reverend Roy Akune?
Roy is fine. Thank you.
And when I became the Bishop of the Buddhist Churches of Canada, he was my boss, the President Roy Akune. Good afternoon, everybody. And I'd like to thank each one of you for attending a special seminar session this afternoon. I know you feel very comfortable in this beautiful temple, and if you feel sleepy, please do so. And I have handout at least to understand what I'll be speaking. So I hope you enjoy spiritually, physically, whatever you are looking for. However, today we can discuss about one of the basic doctrine of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. It is very important to present and explain the Pure Land of Utmost Bliss, one of the basic doctrine of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, to modern people like you. The smaller Pure Land Sutra, Skavati Vyuha Sutra, state the location of the Pure Land of Utmost Bliss as from here to the west, 10 billion Buddha land, there is a world called the Pure Land of Utmost Bliss, unquote. Then the Pure Land of Utmost Bliss is described as there are 7 rows of balconies, 7 rows of fine net, 7 rows of palmyra trees. All these are decorated with 4 kinds of jewels that surround and encircle the country. There exists a pond of 7 jewels filled completely with water of 8 kinds of virtues. The inside of the pond at the bottom is covered exclusively with gold sand. The description of the Pure Land of Utmost Bliss in the Pure Land Triple Sutras and their commentaries are illustrious and artistic, which modern people have difficulty understanding. On such description of the Pure Land, Dr. Genpo Hoshino, a former professor of Ryukoku University, where all ministers receive education for ministry, and Dr. Hoshino became even president of Ryukoku University, stated in his book entitled The Pure Land that for those who are seeking the logic of the establishment of Pure Land, the description of the Pure Land are really an account of dream, particularly for us modern people, and those descriptions are boring. Yet, I believe that because of the boredom of such description of the Pure Land needs a task to be reviewed seriously in modern society. It will be hard, and this interesting to deal with the various problems in relating to the Pure Land for modern people. However, this task should not be left alone for the Pure Land teaching, unquote. His Eminence Monshu Koshin Otani expressed his concern also about the Pure Land in his Dharma message entitled The Importance in Having Opportunities to Feel the Pure Land in Daily Life. In Japanese, 生活の中でお浄土が感じられるような縁が大事。That I quote, the expression of birth into the Pure Land of utmost bliss, are not being used gradually. And going to heaven or the world of stars after death have been often expressed. I think this is a great task of the basic teaching of the Jodo Shinshu. Is it possible to express Namo Amida Butsu as calling of Amida Buddha? Scripture in which Shakyamuni praised Amida Tathagata and his Pure Land, and Shinran Shonin's hymns of Shoshinge in a way which touches the heartstring of the modern people, unquote. Dr. Daisetsu T. Suzuki, a famous Buddhist scholar, states that there are two approaches to understand the Pure Land. One is to find establisher's intention of the Pure Land, and the second is to find how the intention was accomplished. The first one is to approach the origin of the Pure Land, and second is an existentialistic approach to the Pure Land of utmost bliss. Now the first page is over, so I'll give you my thought why I now presenting you the Pure Land of the most bliss today. Last month, I attended the 14th Biennial Conference of the International Shin Buddhist Association at Kyoto, at the Ryukoku University in Kyoto, Japan. It was held on June 12, 13, and 14. I presented my paper, my fourth paper on the Pure Land of utmost bliss. The previous conference was held at University of Calgary in June. No, it was not, it was August 2 years ago. And attended, and Bishop Fujikawa was there, and many other Buddhist churches, Canada ministers were there. I attended, and I presented my paper also at that time. And the 12th conference was held at the Musashino University in Tokyo, Japan, 4 years ago. And I also presented the paper at that time. And previously, before that, I presented my paper at the University of California in Berkeley. And this time I presented fourth paper on the Pure Land of utmost bliss. And somehow, I'm very happy to come up to my conclusion, but I do not know whether you agree with me or you are comfortable with my conclusion or not. So today, I will be presenting very um, in a way, it's not really academic, but my paper will present according to the document, scriptures and commentaries, so that my wife always called me, you should not quote any such a difficult expression. You should say in your words, but I cannot and I do not, and it's beyond my ability. So I just try to faithfully follow what the Pure Land of Utmost Bliss was presented and how we should approach. We understand the Pure Land of Utmost Bliss as an important doctrine of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism in our daily life. When we say the Pure Land of Utmost Bliss, we think that Pure Land of Utmost Bliss is somewhere where we go after our death. It's not related to our present life. But as Dr. Daisetsu T. Suzuki, we can understand the Pure Land of Utmost Bliss from two approaches. One is how it was originally established and how it is functioning now. Now we find a way to approach Pure Land, but when you read the English translation of Jodo Shinshu Triple Sutra scriptures, it's stated that its location is 10 billion Buddha lands away in the West. And we have most capable telescope Mauna Loa in the Big Island in Hawaii, and from telescope, there's no indication that in the West we find the Pure Land of Utmost Bliss. Why the scripture described the location of the Pure Land of the Most Bliss in such way? And also, we have no scientific knowledge to find a country where golden pavilions and pond with a kind of virtue of the waters filled, and the bottom of the pond is covered with the golden sun. And when we see this, why Jodo Shinshu ministers are teaching us the Pure Land of Utmost Bliss located in such way and existing in such way? Why the ministers don't tell us what is the real meaning of the Pure Land of Utmost Bliss? This was my effort to find the answer for myself. As President Roy mentioned it, you are a few years younger. I'm a few years younger? No, you are a few years younger. And remember, I'm a full-time minister now. Not like yourself, retired, enjoying your life. Many years ago, you retired. I'm full-time minister today. And I'm getting close to go to the Pure Land very soon. So I have to find out myself where it is the Pure Land. when I was the bishop of the Buddhist Churches of Canada here, my office was there, and I was helping Stevenson Buddhist Church whenever the minister is not available in here. It was on April 1997. It was the year before I retired from the office of bishop. April 1997. Some of you recall Mr. Kametaro Matsuo passed away on April 14, 1997, at the age of 87 years old. And since the minister was not available, I went to bedside service, and I even conducted funeral service for him. And when I went to bedside service, I found out, the family told me that a piece of paper that Mr. Kametaro Matsuo, it was a small piece of paper that he had under the bed. And it was in Japanese. Mr. Kametaro Matsuo is originally from Wakayama Prefecture, Japan. And I was so impressed that he wrote in Japanese, "Mida no jodo e tabidatsu. I set my journey to the Pure Land of Amida Buddha." And date was open. I was so surprised to see that someone who passed away and left a note that said, "Mida no jodo e tabidatsu." And I set my journey to the Pure Land of Amida Buddha. And date was open, so I put date April 14, 1997. And I was so amazed that Jodo Shinshu followers, such as Mr. Kametaro Matsuo, knew where he is going. And most of us, we don't know where we are going, honestly. And Japanese senryu is not haiku, but it's very critical haiku in daily life. In Japanese, senryu said, "Hito wa mina, shinu koto dake wa mikeiken." Everyone is unexperienced about the death. So whoever the ministers talked, including ministers, all human beings, never experienced death. But we all talk about death. So that senryu, this particular poem, is criticizing people. And not only criticizing, laugh. I feel sometimes they are criticizing people that you are talking about after death, but you haven't experienced anything like that. So that how do you know? Is the question. So today, I hope you find in my paper at least that the Pure Land of Utmost Bliss in Jodo Shinshu Buddhism is such. So, according to the Dr. D.T. Suzuki, I try to approach at least to the Pure Land of Utmost Bliss from the standpoint of origin of the Pure Land of Utmost Bliss. And also, second approach is to find an existentialistic approach of Pure Land of Utmost Bliss, such as how it's functioning now, and how, as His Eminence Monshu Koshin Otani said, the importance in having an opportunity to feel the Pure Land of Utmost Bliss in our daily life. I'm sure Mr. Kametaro Matsuo had an opportunity in having a feeling pure land of utmost bliss in his daily life. Now, according to the Dr. D.T. Suzuki, Pure Land of Utmost Bliss was originally established by fulfilling the 18th vow. So he stated, the foundation of the Pure Land of Utmost Bliss is compassion. The foundation of the Pure Land of Utmost Bliss is compassion. Now, then how the compassion is functioning? Compassion is based on its essence of Pure Land of Utmost Bliss is enlightenment. Body, we celebrate the Bodhi Day on December 8th as the day that Shakyamuni Buddha became fully enlightened person. Bodhi Day, enlightenment. Dr. D.T. Suzuki pointed out the essence of the Pure Land of Utmost Bliss is enlightenment, body. And Pure Land of Utmost Bliss, its foundation is compassion, which coming from enlightenment. Shinran Shonin defined true Buddha and true Buddha's land in his main writing, Kyogyo Shinsho, teaching, practice, awakening, and attainment. I quote, it's on volume 5, reverently contemplating the true Buddha and true land, I find that the Buddha is a Tathagata of inconceivable light, and the land also is a land of immeasurable light. Because they have risen through the fulfillment of vows of great compassion, they are called true fulfilled Buddha and land. A reason why Shinran Shonin defined both true Buddha and true Buddha's land with one concept of light is both are inseparable. So the Shinran defined Buddha as Buddha Tathagata of inconceivable light. And the Pure Land of Utmost Bliss as land of immeasurable light. The both, one is the Buddha of inconceivable light, and Buddha's land as immeasurable light, land of immeasurable light. Both are expressed with light. Shinran also state in his note on essentials of faith alone, Yushin Shomoi, that one of his short writings, he quoted a passage from Shantao, the fifth patriarch of seven masters. And it said, the world of nirvana, the uncreated, means also the state of enlightenment. So now Shinran is explaining us in a Kyogyo Shinsho, he said Buddha, true Buddha, is the Buddha Tathagata of inconceivable light, and Buddha's land as land of immeasurable light. And in his short writing, he explained about Pure Land of Utmost Bliss by quoting the fifth master, Shantao. Pure Land of Utmost Bliss is the world of nirvana, the uncreated. You may not be familiar with Buddhist Church of America calendar. This appeared, this other side, okay, other side. This is the May calendar of Buddhist Churches of America. And its cover page, it's in Japanese, it said, Hotoke no kokudo wa kyoku yasuraka na nehan no sekai de aru. Amida Buddha's land is the pure and tranquil world of nirvana. This is the BCA calendar for its members. And it said, Amida's land is the pure and tranquil world of nirvana. Now, it's one point that Pure Land of Triple Sutra states that Pure Land of Utmost Bliss locate in the west, 10 billion Buddha land away. There is a world. And the world is described with golden balconies, pound with golden sound. All this description that we have in scriptures. And now, in Shinran's writing, and Shinran said, the Pure Land of Utmost Bliss is the pure and tranquil world of nirvana. As I said, that D.T. Suzuki stated that the foundation of Pure Land of Utmost Bliss is compassion, and its essence is enlightenment. And also Shinran said that the Pure Land of Utmost Bliss is the pure and tranquil world of nirvana. And so, still, we said, one hand, when we read English translation of Pure Land Triple Sutras and other commentaries, we find illustrious, artistic description of the Pure Land. But its essence, its foundation is compassion, its essence is enlightenment, body, and nirvana. How we can connect all the both explanations of Pure Land of Most Bliss. And in order to explain this relation, or before that, on probably end of section number 2, I quoted a famous Myokonin Saichi Asahara, who was introduced into the world by Dr. D.T. Suzuki, was a devout Jodo Shinshu Buddhist. He was always enjoying the Dharma talk of Kangaku Kengyo Umeda at Andakuji Temple in Shimane Prefecture, and composed a poem in questioning and also answering in his poem. It's originally in Japanese, and English translation is, I haven't understood the Pure Land of utmost bliss. Where is the Pure Land? You are ignorant. You haven't understood the Pure Land of utmost bliss. You are so ignorant. The Pure Land of utmost bliss is nothing but Namo Amida Butsu. If that's so, oh, how grateful I am, how grateful I am. This is the poem composed by Saichi Asahara. And this is exactly the Shindan taught. And its essence is enlightenment and nirvana, and come to the Nembutsu, Namo Amida Butsu is the Pure Land of utmost bliss, because its foundation is compassion. Because the foundation of Pure Land is compassion, Namanda Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, when you really enjoyed Namo Amida Butsu, you are enjoying the compassion of Amida Buddha. So that Shindan stated, and also Asahara Saichi stated, Namanda Butsu is the Pure Land of utmost bliss. And now I say, how wonderful Saichi Asahara. But still, I have to connect why the Pure Land teaching is given at artistic and illustrious description of the Pure Land. And so, in order to find the answer, at least doctrinal insight, I had to go to the Vasubandhu's writing, the second master of Jodo Shinshu, and also the third masters of Jodo Shinshu. The sections 3, I have discourse. The Vasubandhu, second master, wrote the discourse on the Pure Land. And in the discourse, Vasubandhu described the 29 aspects of virtue of the adornment in the 3 divisions of Buddha's Pure Land, Amida Buddha, and Bodhisattva. And this is so complicated, and it's 17 aspects for Amida Pure Land. 8 aspects for Amida Buddha and 4 aspects for Bodhisattva. The second master of Jodo Shinshu, Vasubandhu, explained about the Pure Land with 17 aspects of virtue of adornment. And he concluded this aspect in phrase in one Dharma, phrase in one and this phrase of one Dharma is purity. One hand, he described Pure Land, Amida Buddha, and Bodhisattva with 29 aspects of virtues of adornments. And he condensed as the phrase of one Dharma and one purity, the phrase of purity. And third master, Tangdan, wrote the commentary of the discourse in the Pure Land. And Tangdan explained this relationship. One Dharma, one phrase of one Dharma, and phrase of purity as a condensed presentation, the condensed presentation. And this 29 aspect of virtues of adornment as extensive presentation. And this 1 and 2 are interrelated each other. Now, I have to look at Amida Buddha. This beautiful Amida Buddha is called the Sambhogakaya. This Amida Buddha is not historical Buddha. This was created out of essential body, Dharmakaya, essential body. The essential body of the Buddha we cannot see. It's invisible. When Shakyamuni Buddha was alive, when he was enlightened and taught Buddha Dharma for 45 years before he passed away at the age of 80, at that time, Buddha was only Shakyamuni Buddha, historical Shakyamuni Buddha, who attained enlightened one on December 8 by eliminating his illusion, became nirvana, and attained bodhi enlightenment at the age of 29. At that time, Buddha, that Buddhists knew was only one Buddha. However, as Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha teaching about the Buddha, teaching of enlightened one, they find out there is an essence of the Buddha. Shakyamuni Buddha, there is essence of the Buddha, which is invisible, we cannot see. So, essential Buddha as a Dharmakaya Buddha was established. And Shakyamuni Buddha as a historical Buddha, Nirvanakaya, transformed the body of the Buddha, existed. So we had the two Buddha at that time. But after Shakyamuni Buddha passed away, how Buddhists can find the Buddha? There is no historical Shakyamuni Buddha teaching already Buddhism, so that there is no Nirmanakaya Buddha, transformed Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha there. So that when Mahayana Buddhism started, actually around the first century or so before, they created Sambhogakaya, this Buddha, visible Buddha, as Dhammakaya of experiencing. Hoben Hoshin. So their big Japanese expression, Hoben, the means to find true Buddha, essential Buddha, Dhammakaya. So that we now get essential Buddha, which is invisible, formless, we cannot see it. And there was a Buddha, historical Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, but for us today, we have no way to find the true Buddha, although we find Shakyamuni Buddha's the historical teaching through the scriptures. But the Sambhogakaya was established because in order to see Dhammakaya, essential body, originated Sambhogakaya as Dhammakaya of experience. Hoben Hoshin was established. And so the essential body of the Buddha originate the Dhammakaya of experience, and the Dhammakaya of experience revealed us the essential body of the Buddha. And now that relation, according to Tanran, is there. Essence of Pure Land is phrase of one Dharma, purity, invisible. But there is the description of Pure Land of utmost bliss was present by Vasubandhu and Tanran, other commentaries of the Pure Land scriptures. And as Sambhogakaya, now Sambhogakaya as a Hoben Hoshin, do you know this Buddha has 32 characteristics and 60 sub-characteristics in order to establish Sambhogakaya, this Buddha. I'm sorry, even as a minister, for many years, I cannot answer for all 32 characteristics of Sambhogakaya. I cannot answer to you 60 sub-characteristics of Sambhogakaya. But I can share with you a few of the characteristics. Like here, right hand up is the perfect wisdom. This is the one characteristic of Sambhogakaya. And left hand, compassion, perfect compassion, showing us here. This one aspect was presented, and this is one aspect is presented in order to create Sambhogakaya, and also moving forward and he's extending his compassion. And so Sambhogakaya, this Buddha, what exactly was established, something like description of the Pure Land that we see in the scriptures today. And scriptures, that descriptions, illustrious, artistic description of Pure Land of utmost bliss are presented to us. Somewhere, some Pure Land aspect is invisible. And now, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, my time is up. Conclusion. According to Asanga, older brother of Vasubandhu, Asanga did not become a master of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, but according to Vasubandhu's older brother, Asanga wrote a book, Summary of the Pure Land, Mahayana. In Sanskrit, they call Mahayana Sangraha. And he presented the cause, he presented in 18 aspects of the Pure Land of utmost bliss. And among them, he presented how it was originated and how it was established. And this relation was presented by Asanga. And answer is, whatever we see today, the description of Pure Land of utmost bliss, illustrious, artistic, and some people say boring, and some people say a kind of dream, and this unscientific description of Pure Land of utmost bliss, these expressions are presented by pure consciousness of enlightened one. And so the description of the Pure Land that we see today is the manifestation of pure consciousnesses of enlightened one. This is my conclusion. Thank you very much for attending seminar. And that, when I found out, I just myself enjoyed it. So sorry, you may not be happy with the conclusion, but when I find out, wow, it said it's manifestation of pure consciousness of enlightened one created the Pure Land of utmost bliss that we see today. In the same way, beautiful Sambhogakaya, Amitabha Buddha statue, was created with 32 characteristics and 60 sub-characteristics in here. Then we enjoyed, and we are able to come to the essence of Pure Land of utmost bliss as a compassion, as enlightenment, as a nirvana. And so that Pure Land of utmost bliss is not the place where we are going to after our death, but it's actually working in our daily life. And compassion, if you are really able to enjoy compassion in your life, Pure Land is right there. Pure Land is extended there. A famous medical doctor and Jodo Shinshu followers, Professor Noboru Higashi of Kyoto University. He was a professor of medical school, and he is the first one that the Japanese scholar who studied in the United States and it made electron microscope. And he is a scientist. And he said, I'll be going to the Pure Land. Pure Land is such a beautiful place that I'll be going because Pure, I finished already, so don't worry. So that Pure Land is where my late parents are waiting for me. So I'll be going to the Pure Land where the compassionate ones are waiting. So again, thank you very much for attending session. Any question, any comment, or please?
You have any questions, anybody? Yeah, use a microphone, and this way then it'll be recorded. Questions, anybody? Clarification?
You can ask me, you know.
My question is whether we interpret the Pure Land as an actual physical place or a state of mind.
Both. You can interpret it either way. It's not only mental, it's not only physical, because if you mentally awaken, you'll be affected physically too. It's Buddhism teaches the spiritual. Before that, the law of karma, the doctrine of karma. Doctrine of karma teaches physical one, verbal one, and spiritual one. Spiritual one, verbal one, physical one, interrelated, interconnected. So if you are, I don't think you can really understand Pure Land of utmost bliss physically unless you are awakened spiritually. Then you can physically affect it, because I'll set my journey to the Pure Land. That kind of conclusion you are able to come. But that's spiritual. But spiritual things will affect physical things. This is the law of karma. The law of karma is not only physical law of karma we are talking about. Even you thinking something, it's affecting to the next consequence. And speaking too, of course, and expression. Yeah, so I think that spiritual awakening of compassion, enlightenment, nirvana will lead you to the physical, geographical Pure Land. But sometimes they criticize that you are too superstitious. It's not like a superstitious, but real spiritual awakening, enlightenment. So the essence in the Buddhist belief is the compassion.
Any other questions, anybody?
Dr. Kune.
Well, Sensei, my understanding or my interpretation of Pure Land is my belief is spiritual, because it can be physical, because if it's physical, then nobody has been there, nobody has returned, and nobody has sent a message what it's like. You know, sure, all the jewels and the palm trees and the golden sand, it is a perception of the Buddha. And I think it's good that it is a beautiful place. And my belief is my mother and father are there. They're one of the Buddhas living in the Pure Land. It's a wonderful place. And so has my past friends who have departed. They're all waiting for me. And I have no fear for me to die because I'll be going to a wonderful place. So to me, it's a spiritual place. In Buddhist books, there are a lot of fantasies, written where when Buddha was born, he walks and things like that, which is not a realistic thing. But it's all fantasy of Buddhist, thought. And even in Christianity, there are a lot of theories which is not scientific. And I think there are a lot of Buddhist stories that are not scientific and cannot be proven. So to me, it's all spiritual. As long as I say Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, I'm going to the Pure Land. And that's my understanding. Maybe you could correct me.
Yeah, you have great understanding. You have great understanding. But like myself, it's not too intellectual, but a little bit intellectually thinking. It's hard, sometimes it got stuck in understanding. But to your statement, I truly appreciate your statement. But underground of what you said, your mom is there, dad is there, your friends are there, you see the identity behind all what you said. Compassion. Mom loved you, dad loved you, your friend loved you. You find the compassion underneath. So what you're saying, the dad in a Pure Land, the mom in the Pure Land, friend, what connecting you? Love, compassion. So you can believe it because you are comfortable with the compassionate one. And that comes to the Namandavaju too. Simply Namandavaju is compassion, one with you and the dad, mom, dear.
I would just like to bring out the point of, well, to me, I think Jodo Shinshu is, the key is this idea of becoming entrusted or having become entrusted. And that I think for some people you need to make a personal quest and you work towards it. And some may be quite successful in getting an understanding for themselves. But I think it's different for everybody. And some people can accept the fact that, well, all I have to say is Namo Amida Butsu, I'm looked after. And that's fine. To me, I think that if I make too much of an effort towards trying to understand, it becomes a personal quest. And I have limited capacity in what I can understand and achieve. So I think in some ways I have to be careful. This idea of Pure Land, there's a Western land over there, my father is there now, so on. That's a figurative statement, and to me, I think. And when we go, we physically go. And where my history and my ashes and whatever remains is only remaining in people that I have come in contact with and things that I've said and influenced, good or bad. And that's what it's all about, I think. To me, this idea that there's a part of me or an entity or something, whether it's spiritual or not, I not so sure I can accept that part of it. I think that if I feel that I am comfortable, and maybe there is this separate, for me, I think the difficult part is I stand before Amida Buddha, I put my hands together and I'm saying Namu Amida Butsu. It's Amida saying Namu Amida Butsu through me. But I'm not so sure whether there's still, I think, some part of me that's saying it. And that's the part that I'm a little confused about.
Yeah, it's perfectly all right to say whatever, but that dilemma is that Jodo Shinshu said calculation, hakanai, calculation. It's okay you say Nam, say Namandavitsu, Namandavitsu. Self-power, Namandavitsu. Then self-power, Namandavitsu. But understanding is, I was motivated to recite Namandavitsu. Your dad or your teacher, minister, someone motivated to you to recite Namandavitsu. That realization that Jodo Shinshu Buddhists had to come up. It's not my way. I find out book, I recite Nambutsu Namandavitsu. No. Somebody motivated me to say Namandavitsu. Maybe your dad, maybe your minister, somebody, friend, so. And other important fact, I was impressed by D.T. Suzuki's statement. The foundation of Pure Land is compassion. That's a great statement. That he's not a Jodo Shinshu minister, but he translated Kyogyo Shinsho for Higashi Honganji publication, and he wrote many articles about Jodo Shinshu, and his understanding so profound and the foundation of Pure Land is compassion. That's great realization. And whoever's listened to Dalai Lama's message, in essence, is compassion. He doesn't speak any other thing, but his essence of Dharma message is always compassion. So I think we have to come up to that realization, but many people said, I don't feel any compassion. Well, I thought so. I felt that too sometime. But now I'm able to come to the point where many things motivated me, and my life, fortunately, I'll be living at this point.
Yeah, thank you, Sensei. No, it's very, very interesting. You read the descriptions of the Pure Land, of the jewels, the wonderful waters, and this and that. But you have to take yourself back to the days of Shakyamuni Buddha. And he had to explain to people who were not educated. So he's trying to describe something that he attained as a young man, how wonderful, which is beyond riches, beyond the most beautiful things you can imagine. So when we describe the Pure Land as such, we're going beyond the physical beauty. And we talk about the kokila, the beautiful songs. Once you sort of grasp that, hey, this is something beyond, I find myself, anyway, become far more comfortable. Compassion becomes more realistic. So this is sort of culminates in the Amida Buddha. He's a stylized Buddha. He's all that can be. And it's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, you have profound understanding, but people don't become like yourself. And people read the description of Pure Land. Oh, this is a fairy story. I can understand. I don't agree with this. Oh, it's nonsense, unscientific nonsense. It's not real. But you have to go through there, at least, to reach you. Yeah. So your path is great, right path you took, but it's not easy for everybody to go through. Even a minister, I struggle. You know, I have English translation of, I did Pure Land scripture, small Pure Land scripture. I read word by word Sanskrit, I read Chinese, and translated into English. I have glossary. Each word, I struggle, I read it. But it was not easy. No, it doesn't go simply accept. But I'm glad to hear that you are able to go through by reading those translations. I know when you read the English translation of Shinran Shonin's correct writing, I know it is difficult. But someone that, as Asanga said, is a manifestation of pure consciousnesses of enlightened one. So when I did English translation of such artistic illustrations, golden images and so I tried to understand, this is the manifestation of the pure consciousness of Buddha, enlightened one.
Thank you. Over great lengths of time, many cultures, many religions have had a place that you go beyond, and it is almost invariably to the West. And I see that here. Life was very, very hard for people. It wasn't as easy as things are today, although there is much that is negative and sad. But if you give them a beautiful description, it is something to hold on to. I just find, to say it's boring, the artistic is boring, I think it gives people something beautiful in their minds, in their lives, to go beyond. And one of the things that in this I'm not quite understanding is that nirvana, uncreated, I don't quite understand that connection with the passing on of people to the Pure Land. And I wonder if you are a member of a church or temple, which is Pure Land, and you have not attained enlightenment, awakening, where do you go? Are you, you go there anyway? Is there something else?
Yeah. The question is the uncreated. Buddhism teaches created things, cause and effect, conditions created things. We are created because condition created us in our individual. This building was created as a created. Uncreated one is the one there is no cause and effect. So this is the Buddhist terminology, uncreated, like nirvana and body enlightenment. These we call uncreated. And another big word is the shunyata, emptiness. Emptiness is uncreated. But from emptiness, condition established rupa, form, that phenomenal world created. So I know for the Western philosophy, maybe uncreated is something a strange world, like a God, world of God. It is the Buddhist concept of uncreated. It's not created, not established by cause and effect, but like shunyata, emptiness, nirvana, bodhi, enlightenment, these are uncreated.
So if it is uncreated,
Uncreated
is it
was
possible
me.
that you arrive,
Mhm.
you go to that
Yeah.
place,
Uh-huh.
that now there is another plane, and you are uncreated in that plane, and
Yes. Yeah.
like almost a recreation, an opportunity to recreate.
Yeah, that's why
Or
it's. Are
another
you
form.
familiar? Are you familiar with the Madhyamika philosophy, the middle Nagarjuna's emptiness philosophy? It that these created and uncreated world are separate in a way, are not identical themselves, but they are somehow connected as an equal. That simple term in Nagarjuna's philosophy is emptiness is form, form is emptiness. Have you ever heard before? That's the emptiness, shunyata is a rupa, rupa is a shunyata. Emptiness is equal with the form created. So the relation, this is the Buddhistic. I don't think we find in a Western philosophy this kind of identity. And because of this, Japanese mind is sometimes it's complicated. Both are not same, but both are not different. That kind of expression, it's a Japanese use, you know. Both are not separate, different, but those are not same. Actually, I'm with my wife is there. My wife and I are separate, but in essentially, if you cremated us, how different? Same essence. Anybody can correct me? My wife and I, as you see, she's a woman and I'm a man, and we fight each other, and we are separate, but both we die, cremated, become same. So my wife and I same. In essence. So this is the kind of uncreated means. I am you. Yes, yeah. There are compassion there too, you know. That very complicated philosophy of Buddhism, and that kind of philosophy, that Japanese mind, it's created complicated things. And so normally Japanese are good in mathematics and the kind of things. In a Western concept, yes or no, very clear. Yes or no. My my oldest son, when he was 6 years old, I called my son, "Are you going to be a good boy?" You know what he said? "Yes and no." Well, that kind of, so I know with the Western mind, particularly Christianity or Western philosophy, it is hard. But the Japanese call is identity and separate. And in fact, Heidegger came up to similar philosophy later in some time. Hi. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry, I haven't seen a departure. Did you see it? A departure. I haven't seen a departure, but I can tell you one aspect that, as you said, life is difficulty, hardship, and many things. Shimon Aoki is the one who wrote No Kung Fu, the one put the body inside the casket. Okay, coffin. And yeah. So my uncle is a movie director. He was a movie director. And he said, and when he never received any award in his whole life, although he's one of the movies was present at Cannes Film Festival, but he's always said, I never received any award his entire life. He made many movies, including last one is Senkan Yamato. It's a very Japanese fleet. It became a very popular movies in Japan, but he never received any award. But he said, I'm the one, very few movie director who could make comical movies as well as serious movies. Kigeki to higeki, serious movie, comical movie. I'm the very few movie director in Japan. Kurosawa Akira is always serious. In fact, Kurosawa Akira is 10 years older than him at the Toho company. And my uncle's movie and the Kurosawa's movie used to show in Tokyo, and theaters were all packed with the Kurosawa's serious movie and my uncle's comical movies. And that's now point is, life could be seen comically and could be seen seriously. the way you look at. And so the coffin man, such a serious movies could depict comically the way you look at where you are focused. And one side, the family lost a loved one, that crying scene. And the other room, the coffee man, businessman is talking about how much we get the money, and that kind of a discussion. And so in our life, serious part and comical part, and where you focus on your life, positive or positive or negative. But other things, okay, so.
Well, thank you very much, Sensei, for your lecture and the question and answer. I think that both parts are very interesting for us. But again, I just want to say this, that your topic on the utmost bliss is a very, very important one, and yet it's a very difficult one. And I guess it's like our thinking, because we all tend to think dualistically. And that's the mode of our thinking. And as long as that mode of thinking exists, we're going to have this dialogue of what's this or what's that. And that's the way that I see it. Tonight, we're going to have, potluck dinner at 5 o'clock? 5 o'clock, isn't it? Yes. So some of you, please stay behind. In fact, all of you, if you wish to stay behind, and if you want to carry on your discussion with Matsubayashi Sensei, please do so. Tomorrow, we have our Obon, which is at 2 o'clock, and Sensei will be speaking. I don't know what your topic will be, but I'm sure that we all look forward to that. So perhaps what we should do is put our hands together, and in Gassho, shall we? And Obon at 6 o'clock, right, thank you. So Sensei, would you like to lead us in Gassho, Ito Sensei?
Thank you very much.
Oh, there's tea, apparently, tea and coffee and refreshments.